In this tutorial, we're going to talk about how to use an enhanced for loop with arrays. So as you can see, I've already started. I've created two arrays, one that has strings in it, one that has random numbers, and you can see my code down here. I've actually already filled the random number one with random numbers from 0 to 99. And then on a side note, this is not something that you really will be able to use to print for your assignments, but it's a good way to double check things if something's not working. You can print an array, but you in one print line, but you have to use this arrays.toString to be able to do it. And in order to use arrays.toString, you need to import java.util as well. So it's just a shortcut way to be able to print the whole array at once. Without it, you can't just put the array name in. It won't just print it for you. But anyway, so we're going to just start by taking this, looking at this first for loop here for our animals array, and just talk about how it gets changed into an enhanced for loop. So enhanced for loops really need to, their purpose is if we want to go through the entire array. So if we have a situation where we're only going through part of it, an enhanced for loop is really not the way that you want to go. But when you are going through the whole array, it's a much cleaner way to write your loop, and it's a good habit to get into. And you at least have to get to a point where you can at least read them, because they do show up on the AP exam, but it is really great if you can try to use them in your writing as well. So when I go to write the enhanced for loop, it's also starting with for, but this is where it changes. So the first thing in the enhanced for loop is what type of array that you're traversing through. So in this case, we're traversing through a string array, so I'm going to use string there. The next thing is what I want to name each item. So I'm just going to call it Annie, short for animals. Then it's a colon, so unlike the regular with the semicolon, this one actually uses a colon. And then the final piece is which array are you going through? So I'm going through the array animals. So this here is indicating type of array, the name of the element, and then the array that you are traversing through. So now, instead of inside the loop, instead of having to use animals bracket I each time to grab an element, I'm just going to replace that with Annie. So I can simply just say system.out.println, and then I can put Annie in here instead of the animals bracket I, and it'll do the same thing. So if I run this, you're going to see that it's going to print our array for animals twice, one with my regular for loop, one with my enhanced for loop, and you can see that at the top of the output here. Okay, so just to work with an enhanced for loop one more time, just to make sure that we really understand it, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this system.outline because it's just kind of messy. And I'm going to find, how about if we find the max and the min value of all of our randomly generated values. So I'm going to create a variable called max, and I'm going to create a variable called min, and I'm going to use an enhanced for loop. Now this time, because I'm going through an integer array, I'm going to use int here instead of string. And I'm going to just use num for the name of the individual element. And then we're going through the array my ran nums. So I'm simply going to check to see if num is greater than max, then I'm going to say max is equal to num. And this is a really common algorithm that you need to be able to do, right, is to find a max or a min. And then I'm also going to say if num is less than min, I want min to equal num. And just to back up here, when I'm creating max and min, I need to give them a starting value. And you can do two things. You can set them to like the biggest or smallest integer, or oftentimes you'll just set them to the very first value in the array. So I can say my ran nums bracket 0, and then we ensure that it gets a good starting value. And I'm going to do the same for this one. But they do both need a starting value, and this is probably a good way to do that. It's just to have it equal the first element in the array. So we're going through the array. We're pulling out num as the element, each element one by one, and we're checking to see if it's either the max or the min of the array. And then when I'm done, we're going to go ahead and just print both of those out. We'll print out max, and then we'll write underneath it, we'll print out min. So go ahead and we can run this, just see how it works. Now remember, I took out the line where it printed the entire array. I guess I could have left it in so we could have actually seen the array. But we would suspect that our max is going to be, yeah, something in the high 90s. And my min that time was 0. If I run it again, because I'm generating, 50 numbers or 100 numbers, good chance that sometime in that generation I'm getting a 0 or a 99. But that's just a quick brief intro on using enhanced for loops.